All right, what's up, Professor? So this is going to be my little interview that I got for the LIN 578 assignment. And I got Alexa here in order to help answer the questions that I've written out.
Hey, Professor.
All right, so to go ahead and kick it right off, the first question that I have for you, Alexa, is going to be, what would you have considered your all-time favorite teacher throughout your years in school?
So my all-time favorite teacher would have to be my math teacher in high school, Mr. DiPaolo. It was my sophomore year of high school, and I really like this teacher. He stands out to me as opposed to all the other teachers that I've had.
Okay, so you said that they were...
He was my math teacher.
Math teacher. Do you know what math class it was?
I believe that it was algebra, but I was in 3 periods of algebra because we didn't do too well in math. So I spent a lot of time with this teacher because I had the double period.
All right.
And a lab.
Cool. So you spend a lot of time with this
definitely
guy. Gotcha.
Needed, yeah, a lot of help there.
Okay. All right. So was there anything specific that you remember about the layout of the classroom that made you appreciate the teacher more? So what I mean is, did he make it more of a warm environment? Maybe it was the lighting or something in the room, or did that really not have an effect on him?
So I would say that really didn't have an effect in my experience with this teacher. However, he did allow us to sit where we wanted in the beginning of class, as long as we were making a good choice of where we were sitting to get our work done. But I had a lot of good people in my class that year as well, so I think that helped my experience with him as being my teacher. But I know that our class was a pretty good size, but it was pretty standard math classroom that he shared with another teacher.
Okay. So you appreciated the autonomy that you might have had with the layout of the classroom.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, I like that he gave us the choice of where we could sit.
Right, and when that does work in the class, of course, that could be great for the students who might be a little more shy when trying to interact with others.
Yes.
All right, so for my next question for you, can you describe how the teacher acted on an average day in class? Like, were they very outgoing, for example? Were they a very funny person?
Yes, so I will explain. This teacher was definitely a very unique person. He had a very distinct personality to him, that he was a big jokester, but he was also very serious at the same time. So poking fun at him was a good time for a lot of us in that class, because he had a good sense of humor to him and just like a good way about him to joke about things. But he also would call out people a lot too in class, that in a funny way that everyone took in a not serious way. So it just made for the class to be exciting.
All right, so he sounds like somebody that is very easy to be able to connect with. He doesn't sound way too super stern where you're sitting there the whole class, but he's also not so lenient where it turns into a mess.
Yes, and also he definitely was structured in what he was talking about. Like when he was doing math, but then when we were joking around, we would have our time to joke around.
Gotcha. All right. So next I'm going to be asking you, if there was one memory you could never forget from being in this teacher's class, what would it be and why?
So this isn't really having to do with math per se, but I remember for our spirit days in school, I would come in very spirited. So sometimes I'd be wearing wigs or different like costume pieces. And I remember our class vividly trying to get him to put on the wig, and he was trying very hard to not put on the wig for us. But then finally he gave in, and it was just cool to see him like just being funny with us and like enjoying the joke.
I think that's an awesome example to give, because it really just shows how outside activities that necessarily aren't involved in the classroom can also just have a big impact on our students.
Yes, and sometimes he would bring in special guests. So there was another math teacher, Mr. Bergen, who was very close with, and they had this bit that they would do back and forth where they would just kind of like make fun of each other in front of our whole class, and we'd get to chime in on like what each person would say, and it just made for an exciting class.
Yeah, that sounds like that was probably a very fun experience to be able to have.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
So what types of assignments do you remember doing for this class with the teacher?
So I remember there was a lot of just like guided math problems that we did. Definitely like he would make for like just, I don't know, a lot of things that we got to do along with him. So it helped me because I wasn't the best at math, but then he'd let us like pair up or be working with groups in order to get our assignments done, which I appreciated because I was someone who needed to talk out my math problems rather than just do them independently. And he let us use the whiteboard a lot. So if I needed to write things out on the board or pick a spot in the room to do my work, that he would let us do that.
Gotcha. So he wasn't always just somebody who would just lecture for 40 30 minutes or hand out an independent assignment, have you work on that. There was really a lot more involvement in the day-to-day class.
Yes, and even when he was teaching or lecturing for he was very he had a lot of charisma, so it was an exciting watch when he would present something.
All right, that sounds like a fun class to be in.
Yes.
So how about assessments? Were they more test-based? Would you do something that was more project-based on average, if you could remember, or was it something entirely different?
So this is the one part I feel like I wasn't enjoying so much about him, but I still appreciate him as a teacher. He would give a lot of tests that we had to do independently, and then he would allow for us to do corrections. So after, this is where I really got to know him as a teacher, because I would go to extra help to get those corrections done, and he really would take the time to help me and make sure that I understood everything to the fullest extent. I remember going in I had a free period that year in the morning, and I would ask him if I can come to his office and just like sit and work on corrections or any homework that I had, because I really struggled with this class, and he would always allow for that, as well as Mr. Bergen would be present too, so it just made it a fun experience being with the both of them.
Gotcha. So while you might not have loved the type of assessment that was given in that class, he at least provided you with the extra supports so you could still do well. I think
Yes.
that's very important.
And that's why I enjoyed it, because I felt like it was fair, even though it was an individual test.
Exactly. All right. So if you could use one strategy from this teacher's class and incorporate it into your own teaching, what would it be?
Probably that exact model of providing extra help, because I know what it did for me. I definitely would like to incorporate that in my class, as well as I guess like the seating that he allowed us to do. I feel like giving us choice there, especially in a math class, is beneficial. I mean, we were able to handle it though, so it really depends on your class. But definitely the tests that he gave and providing the extra support would be what I would want to incorporate in my class.
I definitely have to agree, at least with the giving the students some autonomy part. Of course, it does depend on the class environment, but I really do think that's important to give them some independence so they could really see what it's like in order to make decisions for themselves.
Yes.
So, all right, the next question I'm going to be asking you is if you could recommend one strategy that this teacher used to your professors you have now, what would it be? Would it be the same strategies that you just mentioned? Would it be something entirely different that you think would be more helpful?
I definitely think that a lot of what our professors do now is things that he would do in our class. I mean, speaking to just Professor Lopez, I love the way that she structures her college classes, because it reminds me of doing group work when we had to in high school, and specifically in Mr. DePaulo's class. And she just allows us to choose where we want to sit and choose. It gives us a lot of choice, and I feel like that is something that I feel like more professors should do in their college classes.
Right. I feel like, especially depending on the class that you might be in, some of these professors that we have oftentimes don't give us many options for what we would want to do for the class, even though we have a lot of more ideas in our head than maybe what their curriculum is showing us. So the last question I'm going to be asking you, did this teacher support you at all outside of the classroom on top of being supportive in class? So I know you already mentioned some stuff about like special extra help and things like that, but was there anything else? Like, for example, were they a coach?
So DePaulo was not a coach. Or that I know, it wasn't something that I did per se. He might have been a coach, but I wasn't involved with what he did. However, I'll give you another story. So this actually goes back to when I was applying for colleges in extra help for one of the days I was doing test corrections, but I had a lot of questions about where I should go to college. So you know what, actually going back, he was a 11th grade teacher. This wasn't 10th grade, because it was the time that I was applying for college.
Okay.
But I was in between two schools, and I had a lot of like turmoil going on at home with my parents and just where I was supposed to go for my undergrad and where my dad necessarily wanted me to go. And I remember speaking about it with DePaulo, and he really he had me lay out the pros and the cons of all the schools. And I told him that the school that I really wanted to go to, my dad didn't really approve of it at the time, and he pretty much told me, like, you know, I understand that you want to go and listen to what your dad has to say, but if it's not the right decision for you, like, go with what you think is best. And I'm glad that he told me that, because it gave me like an outlet to really get out all of my thoughts, and maybe not have an outsider's point of view who has known me in an academic setting,
right,
for what would be best for me for my future. And I always appreciated that, because he gave me his honest opinion about where I should go, and I ended up going to that school and I had a great time. So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, that sounds great that he was an outlet for you in order to speak to somebody outside of the classroom to make these important decisions in your life. So I'm happy to hear that worked out.
Yes, me too.
All right, so that's going to be it for the interview. Thank you, Alexa,
Thank you,
and I
Ryan.
will see you soon, Professor.
All right, take